Hi guys, welcome back to this series of UX videos. Yes, we are still continuing with the UX research methods and the planning tools that are used when you gather your data, when you get to know your users before actually starting to design your system. So previously we looked at, the last video we looked at a qualitative research tool, which was the persona. So now we're moving on to two more qualitative research tools, and these are user stories and user scenarios. So now that we've already designed our personas, we know how to design our personas, we know that we need to include our goals, the user's goals, frustrations and motivations for using our app. We move on to user stories. And what user stories are is basically when you try to put the goals and the frustrations of the user into a context. So you take the goals and the frustrations that you defined in the personas, and then you put that into a context, and then that becomes a user story. What user stories do is they enable us to see the big picture. They enable us to see everything from the perspective of the end user. And obviously we've already said that they take the goals and the frustrations and then you put them into a story or a context, so you see everything from the perspective of your end user. You put yourself in the shoes of an end user basically. So this is just a format or some sort of a template of putting down a user story basically. So you'll say, as a user type, which users are you designing your system for? So you could be designing something for students, so you'll be, as a student, I want to the goal, so that the reason as to why I want to achieve that goal. So we'll take an example shortly just now, but just remember that this is a context. You say, as a user type, I want to action or feature or a goal that the user wants to achieve, so that the reason as to why they want to achieve that goal. Okay, so let's take the persona that we created in the previous, or that we discussed in the previous video. If you guys remember this persona, so we created this persona as though we're trying to create a bill splitting app for Kendall. Kendall is our fictional character that we obviously that's representing the other users that may be having the same frustrations and want to achieve similar goals as Kendall when they use the app that we're trying to design. So let's try and build a user story using this persona. We already have the goals and the frustrations defined there. So so basically the bill splitting app can be used by literally anyone. So we can just say, as a user, I want to, so let's look at the goal. As a user, I want to be able to split the bill amongst my friends without needing everyone to have to do their own calculations. So that the reason, so we take the frustration so that we don't have to ask the waiter to take the bill separately. So I've just put what we've just discussed just now into a context or into a story to build our user story, so you guys can see exactly how to do it. So as a user, I want to be able to split the bill amongst my friends without needing everyone to do their own calculations, so that we don't have to ask the waiter to take the bill separately. So we took the goal and the frustrations of the user and we put them into a context, so we're trying to see everything from the perspective of the user. So now we'll move on to user scenarios. User scenarios are also for personas because they basically just look at the different contexts or scenarios that somebody or that our user will need to use the system that we're trying to design. So already from the persona that we've defined, we can already see the goals and frustrations that Kendall has. Our next user or our next group of users may have different goals and frustrations from the ones that we defined, that Kendall already has basically. So we need to put that into a scenario, like we need to take that into consideration and develop a persona for those users. So user scenarios give a detailed description of the different scenarios in which somebody will want to use our system. And the benefit of that is that you're constantly trying to put your user at the center of attention. Remember at the beginning that we said user-centered design is key. So you need to make sure that you put your users at the center of attention. You're constantly engaging with your users. You're constantly trying to put your users first before everything else, because at the end of the day, your users are going to be the ones that are going to use your system. So we want to make sure that in each persona there are different scenarios in which people would want to use our system. So that brings us to the end of this video. That's basically it when it comes to user stories and user scenarios. It was very short and straightforward. I hope you guys find it useful. Please don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.